this weekly during a real shutdown, there's got to be at least a 30-40% chance of a 1 week to longer shutdown in the government, just based on how polarized things are. A lot of times this thing gets solved right at the very end, so I wouldn't be surprised.
He warns, though, that because Bitcoin trades as part of the speculative AI trade, its price will rise and fall with the fortunes of that theme. When investors take profits in AI stocks, retail traders often get hurt first, and Bitcoin can sell off along with them. This is not unique to Bitcoin. Ethereum, Solana, and even publicly traded Bitcoin miners are caught in the same flows. The key takeaway: don't be surprised by corrections. They're part of the process. Please take a little time to like this video, subscribe to the channel, and turn on post notifications for more videos like this. You can also check out our other videos on cryptocurrencies and the overall digital asset space, and drop your comments and observations in the comment section below. Everything you do helps with the YouTube algorithm and immensely contributes to the channel's growth. Thanks, and enjoy the video.
So Bitcoin fits in with this theme, and I want to equate, because I get a lot of outreach from people. So Bitcoin's been kind of stuck here for a period of time. I've said repeatedly that for me, Bitcoin is the purest AI trade, as AI goes through the complete disruption of all businesses, and the only moat that's left at the end of the day is a store of value that is in the digital economy. Gold will continue to have its strength, but at the same point, Bitcoin fits in. So whenever the AI trade reaches a profit-taking mode where retail gets hurt, I think everyone should expect Bitcoin to go down. It's not just Bitcoin, it's Solana, it's Ethereum. There's been a lot of speculation in the Bitcoin miners. I think we just reached a point where, again, we've sold off. The AI trade is still in the very early stages, despite all the fears that come out. So it makes sense for people, for Bitcoin to have corrections. And I just want to remind people, Nvidia is up over 1,000% since ChatGPT's launch. During that time period, which is less than 3 years, we're almost at the 3-year anniversary of ChatGPT's launch, you've had 5 corrections of 20% or more in Nvidia before it went back up to all-time highs. Bitcoin's going to be the same thing. So you can take Nvidia, you can take Bitcoin, you can kind of put them together as there. And I think people should start realizing that that is the reality, is that we're in a situation right now where, as Nvidia goes, as the AI trade goes, Bitcoin to some degree is going to be part of that as well. Well, so far this month, I think as of yesterday, even with Bitcoin being down where it was, I think it's still flattish for the month. I think stocks are up for the month. So I'm not sure September is going to finish down for the month. But I do think as we get through kind of the shutdown, this weekly during a real shutdown, there's got to be at least a 30-40% chance of a 1 week to longer shutdown in the government, just based on how polarized things are. A lot of times this thing gets solved right at the very end, so I wouldn't be surprised. But historically, it just doesn't matter for markets, but the fear factor's there. I think the more important event is happening at the end of October, and this is where I would expect that people are going to start to get more positive. The first thing is we still have the possibility of another Fed rate cut. The economy is fine. We just came out with a GDP of 3.8%, and now the GDP now is above 3.3, and that was before the personal spending numbers came out better than expected today. At the end of the month, Donald Trump will be headed out to the APEC summit. President Xi will be at the APEC summit. I believe that China and the US are headed towards a deal, a structure that will allow them to be working together and not decoupling. I still think people believe decoupling is a possibility, and I think there's a chance here that a deal between China and the US would get rid of hostility fears that are out there, and kind of get people to resolve that maybe for the next few years of Donald Trump's presidency, China and the US will coexist, as I've said, in mediation before divorce that'll happen at some point. But that just means the world can grow. We don't have to worry about kind of tail risks that would come through. I think that would be a trigger point in the next catalyst for the market as we go into the final couple months of the year. Let's separate two things, because number one, there will absolutely be some companies that should not have spent the amount of money. If you don't create the models that people use, just like any other business, Has Ford spent money that they lost to Tesla? Yes. I mean, they tried to get in the EV race. They've tried to do this. Like, there will be companies that make a misallocation of resources. Let's separate that and just say, yes, there will be companies that don't win. And your job as an investor is to figure it out. Now, if the Mag 7 keep going higher, it doesn't matter if one of them goes down 30%, if the other 6 are going up 25%. If you believe in AI, I think you're going to be fine. Now, if you wanted confirmation of this, and this is kind of one of the things that I talked about this week with people, go to China. Now let's separate the US. So if everyone believes the US is a bubble and these companies are a bubble, then why is China spending equal amounts of money? And I say equal amounts because I want to make sure people hear this. Last year, China spent close to $1 trillion on the build out of clean energy. It contributed in terms of their growth rate, because of how much they did from the year before, about 10% of their GDP. This is really important for people to understand, is that in China, we talk about how they've been building out their power needs. Well, that's coming from the government side. On our side, we're having to do this at the private sector side, so the numbers have to be huge. Alibaba raised their CapEx this week. They talked about the fact that they need capacity to be 10 times where it is by 2030. For ASI. So Alibaba, and you can go read the story yourself, it's Eddie Wu, talked about this. So if China believes the same thing, and when you listen to Jensen Huang, he goes, hey guys, this is actually about the capacity needed for the rebuilding of all computers in the world to be connected to AI. And I really want people to understand that, like, we've gone from the 1970s with the beginning of the PC revolution, the launch of it, and the PC, Time Person of the Year in 1982 being the personal computer, to where we are today. We now have to take all the infrastructure that was built on CPUs and we need to replace all of it with GPUs. It needs to be AI centric. All the PCs, all the phones. I just purchased my first phone, I think in 4 years, because I decided that there was enough AI intelligence on the Apple iPhone after reading all the reviews. It's not an AI device, an edge device at this point. But I do believe there's enough going on that I want to start using the beginning technology of AI. I realized this when I didn't get the iPhone at the very start, and I waited with the BlackBerry until it got further ahead. And it took me a while to get used to kind of using it and getting my brain ready on it. So I said, all right, I'm going to buy one. I'm going to pay I think it's cost me $1,800 for the phone.
Visser believes Bitcoin will behave similarly. Big gains will be punctuated by sharp drawdowns, and understanding this rhythm is crucial for anyone trying to time the market. In his words, you can take Nvidia and take Bitcoin and kind of put them together. Both are core parts of the same secular story: the build-out of AI infrastructure and the migration to a digital-first economy.
The only thing I use it for is alarms and kind of timers when I'm cooking. Other than that, I still don't use it that much. I do use it for texting. I do use it for phone calls occasionally. But honestly, is that where we've come to? Is that's the best kind of tools? And it doesn't work all the time. So I use ChatGPT every single day for conversations. I use it for verbal learnings when I go on my walks. I use it to have conversations about books, about podcasts, until AI Siri gets there. But I do think it's important to get used to how these edge devices are going to work. And I'm not saying Apple's going to win in the end, because I think they have a very hard road without having their own LLM in the long term. But for the time being, to get used to how you can be more efficient even on your phone, I think it's important. I mean, let me put it this way. If we take the merging between AI and Bitcoin mining, this has been a big year for it. First of all, the whole CoreWeave thing, when it came out, kind of got a little bit of enthusiasm. It was followed up by Circle in terms of the stablecoin side. But I think over the course of the last 6 weeks, we finally got the traditional finance people looking at the relationship between all electricity, all power, and kind of where the Bitcoin miners fit into this, and this linkage between this. I do want to say this again and again and again. The world is built on code. If there's one thing that Jensen Huang did say that gets back to your emerging market side, which I think is important into the Bitcoin miner, the whole relationship and how these guys are looking for any capacity they can find. Jensen Huang said, this is the ability for kind of taking companies that had a huge advantage and allowing any person in the world to have the same superpower. And that superpower is to turn an idea into an application that can make money. So Any child who can speak the English language and come up with an idea can speak into a phone and have an app built. They can connect Stripe to it and they can start collecting revenue on it if it's a good idea. They have to figure ways to promote it. All of this stuff can now be done because coding has become ubiquitous. And I think that gets important to Bitcoin, Bitcoin miners, the relationship with AI. It's all code. At the end of the day, we're merging the digital economy. And this is the reason why I started to go with, there's the macro world, there's the AI world, which is basically dominating the macro world through GDP, through labor, through everything. And then you've got Bitcoin over here, which is the eventuality. And the eventuality is AI is going to disrupt everything in the traditional finance world slowly, but continuously. Is there anyone who doesn't believe, forget the views on Elon Musk, is there anyone who believes that a car company like Ford, GM, or any of them can compete with Tesla if their full self-driving works, the scale that he's built, the fact that he already has massive battery production, he's got humanoids behind it. Think about what he's been able to create, and he has his own LLM in terms of XAI. How can a car company compete with that in the event that he makes the inevitable progress? So if you think about an old traditional Ford, which is really the beginning of the Industrial Revolution in many ways, compared to where we are in AI, and take Tesla and view it, and I said this on my most recent video, it is not a car company. It is an AI company. Mm-hmm. And if people don't see that disruption that happens from Elon Musk and his vision that he put out 20 years ago in terms of what it meant to sell the first car, the Roadster, then turn it into more affordable cars, have those cars be collecting data with the eyeballs or the cameras, get those cameras into the AI thing. He built XAI in 2 years. I just think we're in a world where when people get through it, they realize Bitcoin is a moat where people believe in it as investment. And the more that AI is accelerating, eventually it will cannibalize the entire kind of fiat system, of which the Mag 7 are part of the fiat system.
Another area where Visser sees convergence is between AI and Bitcoin mining. Over the past 6 weeks, traditional finance has begun to appreciate the deep connection between power usage, Bitcoin mining, and AI infrastructure. Both industries are essentially giant computations running on code. As Nvidia's Huang put it, AI can give anyone the superpower to turn an idea into a money-making application. Coding has become ubiquitous. That same logic applies to Bitcoin, miners, and the digital economy they're securing.